Imagine sitting in a restaurant, the kind with golden lights hanging low, soft music playing in the background, where people laugh and sip wine. And suddenly, you see someone you know, a person who works quietly, someone others rarely notice, being humiliated in front of everyone. What would you do? Would you stay silent, or would you stand up for them? Tonight's story is about a man who didn't stay silent. It's about a millionaire who witnessed his maid being mocked on a blind date, and the decision he made that changed both of their lives forever. Stay with me until the end, you won't just hear a story, you'll feel it. And if it moves you, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel, because your support keeps these real, emotional stories alive. Elena worked as a maid in one of the wealthiest homes in the city. She was soft-spoken, humble, and often invisible to the world around her. For years, she polished silver, washed floors, folded expensive suits, and made sure every corner of the mansion gleamed. To her, the house was not just a workplace, it was where she poured her heart into tasks no one else cared about. But outside the mansion walls, Elena was just another woman trying to find love in a city where appearances meant everything. Her friends had convinced her to try a blind date. They said, "You deserve happiness too, Elena. You've spent your life serving others. Now it's time someone looked at you for who you are." She had hesitated, but deep inside, she longed for someone who would see her beyond the uniform and apron. So, one Friday evening, she gathered her courage, put on a simple but elegant dress she had saved for years, and went to a restaurant she could barely afford. What she didn't know was that her employer, Daniel, a quiet millionaire CEO known for his intelligence and calm authority, was also at that same restaurant. Daniel had come for a business dinner, seated in one of the private corners, but from where he sat, he could clearly see Elena. At first, he didn't believe his eyes. The woman sitting nervously by the window, fidgeting with her napkin, was none other than the maid who had quietly served his household for years. Elena's date arrived, a tall, arrogant man in an expensive jacket. He sat down and barely looked at her. Within minutes, his disdain was clear. "So, what do you do?" he asked, sipping his drink without meeting her eyes. Elena hesitated before answering honestly. "I work as a maid." The man laughed so loudly that heads turned. "A maid? You're kidding, right? My friend set me up with a maid? This must be a joke." His words were sharp, laced with cruelty. Elena's hands trembled. Her cheeks burned. The waiter passing by paused, unsure whether to intervene. People at nearby tables began to whisper and chuckle. Daniel watched. His jaw tightened. He had seen Elena countless times in his home, always quiet, always respectful, always disappearing into the background as if her existence didn't matter. But tonight, under the harsh laughter of a man who thought he was better, Daniel saw her differently. He saw her courage, the courage to show up, to hope, to risk being seen. And at that moment, he made a decision. He rose from his table and walked across the restaurant, his presence commanding silence. The cruel man looked up, startled, as Daniel stopped beside their table. "Is there a problem here?" Daniel asked, his voice low but firm. Elena's eyes widened. She couldn't understand why her employer was standing next to her, looking at her as though she mattered. The man scoffed. "We're fine. Just a misunderstanding. I didn't know I was meeting a maid tonight." Daniel's gaze hardened. "And what's wrong with that? Do you think her work makes her less than you? Let me tell you something, this woman you're mocking keeps my home running with more dignity and honor than you've shown in the last 5 minutes." His voice carried across the room, silencing the whispers. Respect is not about titles or money. It's about character. And right now, you're the poorest man in this room. The man stuttered, tried to defend himself, but Daniel cut him off. "Leave." His authority was undeniable. With red cheeks and mumbled excuses, the man left the restaurant, humiliated. The entire room seemed to breathe again. Some people clapped softly. Elena sat frozen, her eyes filling with tears, not of shame this time, but of relief. Daniel looked at her and, for the first time, spoke not as an employer but as a man who saw her. Elena, you don't deserve this. You deserve someone who sees your worth. Would you allow me to sit with you? Her voice broke as she whispered, why would you sit with me? Because, Daniel said gently, pulling out the chair, I've been blind for too long. And tonight, I finally see you. They talked for hours. Daniel discovered her dreams, how she once wanted to study nursing but life had forced her into work too early. He listened, really listened, as if every word mattered. Elena, for the first time in years, felt her heart open. That night was the beginning of something neither of them expected. Daniel didn't fall for Elena because of pity, he fell because of her resilience, her kindness, and her quiet strength. She didn't need saving, she needed someone who believed in her. Months later, Elena had left her maid uniform behind. With Daniel's encouragement, she went back to school, studying at night while working part-time in healthcare. Their bond grew stronger, built not on wealth or power, but on respect and shared dreams. And when people who once mocked her saw Elena walking beside Daniel, no longer invisible but radiant in her own